We will use those, yeah, you take that one off.
Can I take this one off?
We'll use the spots in a moment, all right? But first, I want to thank you all again for being here. It really means everything to us to have you here, to learn about us, to have your support, just being here in this room. I am so honored. And just having, I hope that no matter how you are, who you are, whether you're new to us or whether you've been with us for a long time, what I'm hoping is that when you look back at this day, you'll think, oh, those were the early days of my relationship with the Mosaic Project. Because we are going far. We are going places, we are moving towards peace, and our hope is that you will all join us for the long haul. And I'm going to tell you where we're headed. And I have to say that I stand here for a while now. I've been standing in this room and telling people where we're headed for several years. And I have never been as excited as I am right now at this moment, because I really feel, I think all of us in the Mosaic community feel this, we're on the verge of really taking off and going to a new stage. So I'm particularly excited to tell you about that today. But before I tell you where we're headed, I want to tell you a little bit about how and why we got to where we are now. And the boxes are going to help me do that. Just like Marmalade, I like props, I like visuals, I am an educator. And the boxes have to do with our roots. So I'll start with our roots. I had the first inkling for the idea of the Mosaic Project when I was 15 years old. I went to a diversity-focused summer camp that brought teenagers in Los Angeles, where I grew up, from all different backgrounds together to address issues of difference, and it blew my mind. And it really had helped shape who I am today. And I decided then that waiting until we're teenagers to start addressing these issues is waiting far too long. And I decided that when I got older, I wanted to do this work with the younger students. And then when I got to college, when I was at Stanford, I was invited with a group of 18 Jewish students. All of us had lost family in the Holocaust. And we traveled, we were invited by the German government to meet with ex-Nazis and German students and to talk about what had happened. And at that point, I was already familiar with the idea of the pyramid of hate. This graphic illustration of how hatred operates in all of us and in our society. This idea that prejudice can lead to discrimination, to violence, to war and genocide. So I already intellectually knew that. When I was in Germany, actually at the roots of what happened there, I got it on a gut level. This idea that prejudice, little prejudiced thoughts, can lead to horrific violence really anywhere, and lead to smaller acts of violence every day. And that really solidified my commitment to make this fighting, dismantling this pyramid, my life's work. So then I met Margaret Goey-Hodder, the most amazing board president, volunteer, co-founder anywhere. Can we have another hand? Can you do another twirl? We knew we were going to create something, and with all these talks about the pyramid of hate and wanting to make a difference, the Mosaic Project was born. And in June 2000, we officially founded, and it was based on the idea, still is now, that as God says, if we're to reach real peace, we shall have to begin with the children. And thank you. We shall have to begin with the children. Like Tito, that's right, who is also a picture of him in that video. And now, go ahead and stand up. Look how tall he is now. He was in the first video from 2001. Studies do show that we start to exhibit prejudice between 2.5 and 8.5 years old. So we really cannot wait to start addressing these issues. Now, studies also are showing, people find this shocking, and it's true. The studies are showing that we are just as segregated now. Schools are just as segregated now as they were in the 1960s, and it's getting worse. And I find this flat out dangerous, and this is why. At Mosaic, we add 2 bottom layers to the pyramid of hate. Okay? And that's just simply separation, lack of experience for people who are different from you, leading to ignorance and fear, leading to prejudice, discrimination, violence, and genocide. Okay? So let's really look at how this works, and that's where the box comes in. So what happens when you are segregated, when you are separated, and you don't have experience with people who are like you or not much, right? Then you rely on the messages that you get around you, maybe an experience you have with one person one time, what people tell you, what you see in movies on TVs. You rely on stereotypes, as Marmalade talked to us about earlier. You rely on stereotypes. So, for example, let's say that you have a stereotype that all people who wear glasses are geeks. So then you see Brett Dennen over there. Sorry, you're sitting right there wearing glasses. What do you want me to do? So you see Brett Dennen over there. Come on up, Brett. I need you. You see Brett over there. And let's say I don't know Brett, but I just have this stereotype that all people who wear glasses are geeks. Okay, I learned this from one of our students who said when you stereotype, it's like putting a big box over somebody's head and slapping a label on it. That is exactly what it's like. Wisdom out of the mouth of babes. That's how we learn everything we learn in Mosaic. So it's like I take a box. I'm going to take this up. Hold on, Britta. I'm glad you cut your hair. And now I did. To Tracy on Lara, to me he's Brady Boy. Alright. It's like you take this and you put it over his head. And that's what stereotyping does. What does this do? Now I don't see Brett. All I see is a big, tall geek. That's all I see. Now it's funny and it's tragic because now I dehumanized him, right? And what happens when bags are placed over people's heads? What happens when we don't see people? What happens when they're not human to us? Then that's what allows us to treat people horribly and to use violence, to discriminate, to be violent. And I believe this is what leads to war and genocide as well. This dehumanization right here. If I'm not really thinking of him as a real person, how can I empathize with him? If I am thinking of him as a real person, if I'm really thinking about what it would feel like to be him, I'm not going to be able to be mean to him, and I'm going to be more likely to stand up for him if somebody else is hurting him, right? I'm going to have to stay here for just another moment. Can you breathe okay? Okay. So you can use this, think about this with any stereotype. Sometimes in our corporate settings, we put on poor performer here. Let's see, Brett is one of my employees, or let's say he's one of my students. And I heard that he did badly on a work project, or maybe he didn't do well in school last year. So now I've labeled him as poor performer, right? And that's all I see. So I can't really see what he is and what he does. If he does something good, I'm not even going to notice it, okay? So what we're trying to do with the Mosaic Project is break out of these boxes and really see people for who they are, to humanize them. Okay, thank you, Brett. You're welcome. But that's easier said than done. That's really hard to do. And I'm going to show you why in just a moment. We're going to flash a picture on the screen, okay? When I count to 3, but not before I count to 3. What I want you to do when you see the picture on the screen is to read it out loud all together as fast as you can, okay? Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Monday is the first day of the week.
Monday is the first day of the week. Look again. Monday is the first day of the week. Look again. Monday is the first day of the week. And yet, every time I use this, people read Monday as the first day of the week. Why? Because our minds see what they expect to see. We see what we expect to see rather than what's really there. It's kind of cool. Without even noticing it's happening in our brains, it happens like this. We rearrange the dice.